So let's discuss slavery reparations with my next guest. He is the author of the book From Cotton Fields to University Leadership, All Eyes on Charlie, a memoir. Professor Charlie Nelms joins me tonight from Indianapolis. Professor, thanks for being with me.
Thank you so much. It's great to be with you.
Today's congressional hearing on slavery reparations falls in line with the subject of your book. Talk about your experience growing up black in the Deep South in the 1950s and 1960s as a descendant of slaves.
Well, you know, people like to think about it as a period of segregation, but I call it apartheid. And that's what it was. It was a legal system of subservience is what it was. And of course, we worked in the cotton fields from sunup to sundown. And the educational system was not set up to educate us for post-secondary education. It was to make sure that the large plantation owners, cotton plantation owners, had a constant supply of workers. And so we weren't supposed to escape that. But it's real, and it was an American-style system of apartheid. And not only did my parents and grandparents suffer from it, but today's generation continues to suffer from the evil of that particular era.
How do you say that, though? How is the suffering continuing today?
All you have to do is to look at Flint, Michigan, with the quality of water, the lead poisoning. You go to almost any urban community, including the one in which I'm sitting tonight in Indianapolis, and look at the quality of education. You look at the unemployment rate, even though there's a lot of conversation about how low the unemployment rate is, but what we don't get into is the level of unemployment amongst certain groups. When you look at the percent of wealth, African Americans have about 1/10 of the percent of Caucasian wealth in this country. You look at health disparities. So this whole notion of inequality is represented in so many ways, and all we have to do is to open our eyes and look around us.
But at the same time, Professor, I mean, you can't ignore that African Americans have made tremendous strides. I mean, you're an accomplished professor, a university higher education administrator. It's been a long road, I'm sure, for you and for many others. Do you think slavery reparations would make a difference for you and other descendants today?
You know, it's not about me, and that's the problem. There's a tendency of politicians and others to conflate individual accomplishments with what has happened or not happened for the masses of people. And so certainly I have done well by virtue of the fact that I had lots of people who nurtured my aspirations and my dreams and invested in me. And so for that, I'm most appreciative. But it's not the individual accomplishments. It's about the masses of people who have not had the kind of success that I have had, and that more especially many of our Caucasian brethren and sisters have had. And I heard one politician today say that, you know, we've tried to address this whole thing with slavery by electing the first African American president. So what? What about the majority of the people who live in urban and rural communities who go to bed hungry every night, who don't have access to high quality education, medical care, and all of those things? So we need to be careful not to conflate individual achievement with the masses of people.
That lawmaker you mentioned was Republican Senator, Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Let's take a listen closely to what he actually said. Listen.
Yeah, I don't think reparations for something that happened 150 years ago, for whom none of us currently living are responsible, is a good idea. We've, tried to deal with our original sin of slavery by fighting a civil war, by passing landmark civil rights legislation. We've elected an African-American president. I think we're always a work in progress in this country, but no one currently alive was responsible for that.
McConnell's comments went viral today. Your reaction further?
Well, my reaction to it is this. You know, you can talk about no one is responsible for it, but many, many people benefited from it, and they continue to benefit from it today. And I wish that if we're going to have the conversation, let's have a complete conversation. And that's what the reparation hearings are about. And what we need to do is to engage in a vibrant dialogue across political and socioeconomic boundaries and have a serious conversation about all dimensions of reparations, not just what we've attempted to do, but the same person who spoke those words is the same person who said that he wanted to make President Obama a one-term president and did everything he could in his power to make him a one-term president. So, for example, denied health care to people. I mean, come on, let's have the full conversation.
But, you know, Professor, I mean, there's a big misconception out there that this is just about money, that this is a money grab of reparations. What do you say to that?
Well, I say that this is not a money grab. You know, I'm not interested in receiving a large check from the government. That's not what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is seeing public schools improved in rural and urban communities. I'm interested in seeing my great aunts and poor relatives have access to health care, not only mine, but those of other people who suffered from the effects of slavery. I'm interested in seeing a reduction in the number of people who sent to prison and the disparate kind of treatment of people. And so all of those things, it's not about a check to an individual. It's about building communities. For example, I had the good fortune of serving as president of a historically black college university, and the cumulative effects of historic underfunding has ended up impacting the level of the curriculum that they're able to offer, the services, the facilities, the research they're able to do, the whole range of things. And so to say that today's citizens had nothing to do with it, well, one thing is we know it has constrained and limited the access and the opportunities for people, and that will continue to happen for a long, long time, well into the future. And
so in addition to the awareness factor, what should be done with the money? How would we implement this?
Well, how would we implement it? So first of all, we could come up with criteria, and I don't think there's a quick fix kind of scheme, and I want to resist the temptation to try to articulate a way that dollars can be distributed. But we could look at the poverty index, for example, and distribute dollars on the basis of that. We could also consider the health disparity kind of impact, the number of African-American women who ended up dying during childbirth. Sure. So a range of things that I don't think there's any one thing that we ought to be looking at. Right. We should be looking at a compendium of ideas and metrics and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah, and some have mentioned scholarships, social programs, a number of ways that this could be implemented for the betterment of the entire, sure, United States and all people. Professor, I'm going to have to leave it there for you. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for watching Take 30.